The crisis rocking the Labour Party is nowhere near resolution. In the latest twist to the crisis, the Senator Nenadi Usman-led Caretaker Committee of the party has given notice of its intention to approach the Supreme Court to seek further clarification on the leadership dispute in the party. In a statement jointly signed by the chairman of the committee, Nenadi Usman, and the Secretary Darlington Nwokocha, declared that only the Supreme Court can resolve the issue. The rulings of the Appeal Court on the 13th of November 2024 and the 17th of January 2025, affirming the Julius Abure-led faction of its leadership, have been regarded to contain ambiguities which remain inconsistent. All right, Kaidi. The Senator Nenadi Usman-led faction is heading to the Supreme Court. Now, with all of this, court cases, appeal court, now they're going to Supreme Court. What direction is the Labour Party heading?
I said this on this platform a few days ago, that political issues are not always better resolved in the courts. It is more of jaw. It is more of, let's sit down, let's address this issue. I'm sorry to use the parlance that is very common among them. Let's share the power. Let's share the influence. What do I give you? Where do you manage?
Okay.
If these discussions are not
compromise.
If these discussions are not held, trust me, it's a whole waste of time. Go to Supreme Court. Let Abure still take over. You need to sit back and have a conversation with Abure. For me, I think it's important we diagnose the issue before we can do some kind of prognosis of the way forward. Now, I don't know where the rain started beating Labour Party.
Okay.
This was a party who put up a strong showing at the last election.
Yes.
Who would give Labour Party a chance in the first place. But they had a very strong showing because of their presidential candidate. And I think that should have been the rallying point for the party to come up as a formidable opposition. But what did we see? We saw the labor unions, having issues with Abure, and I think that's where the presidential candidate needed to have come and, put these people together rather than taking sides. So this really conflagrates the issue, and they found themselves in this place. As we speak, you only have two factions. There are technically three factions. And that's to tell you that if this is even resolved, which I doubt, Supreme Court can resolve this issue. If this is resolved, where do we also find a way to Georgia to sit down? That meeting where Nenadi Usman was declared, Abure should have been invited. This thing should have been done.
No, Abure kicked against that the meeting itself. Exactly.
I agree. So what I'm just saying is that even because they were going to declare the caretaker committees, obviously we wouldn't want to be part of the coup in quote. So I just feel that no matter how infinitesimal they think Abure is, no matter how insignificant they think he is, there must be a conversation with his team. And don't forget that the apapas of this world, what's the other guy, the publicity secretary, Arabambi, they've actually keyed in with Abure. So Abure is gaining more strength, and he has the legitimacy now to constitute more problem. So please, let somebody call Abure and probably withdraw the case in court, and there they can have a kind of headway.
Actually, there's so much confusion, ambiguities, inconsistencies in the judgment delivered, in the Labour Party crisis. Well, why is this so?
Well, I think we have courts of lower jurisdiction, and then courts of higher jurisdiction, and then the court of the highest jurisdiction, which is the Supreme Court. It's not unusual to find a situation where the High Court will take a decision and then the Court of Appeal will overturn it. So when that happens, we wait for the Supreme Court to take the final decision.
Which is the Court of National Policy.
Yes. So when the Supreme Court takes its final decision, then it's binding on all the parties. But I think that just like I said, the Labour Party was established in 2002. And what I see consistently is that the ground norm, the real fundamental principles of setting up the Labour Party as a party of the Nigerian working class, you know, that ideology has been defeated. The main characters we are talking about now were either in PDP or, you know, probably in ANPP. You know, Nenadi was a minister under President Olusegun Obasanjo, you know, from the PDP. Obi himself was in the PDP.
Or even from ABGA to PDP.
From ABGA to PDP. So the founding fathers of Labour Party, the original aim, you know, that propelled the setting up of the Labour Party was a party of the working class. But now the party has been taken over by conflicting ideological interest that there is no way they can, it's very difficult because they are coming from different backgrounds. What brought them together was, look, want to defeat the APC. So it wasn't something that was based on the long-term ideological plan. And that's why this crisis is inevitable. You know, they will begin to have one problem over the other. Now, when they wanted to have the 29-member the National Executive Council suspended Abure, which I think was wrong. And then you now set up a caretaker committee to organize the National Convention, an inclusive, you mark that word, inclusive National Convention. How can you be talking of an inclusive National Convention when you have expelled, you have suspended, you know, the chairman of the party? So, on that basis, you know, if you don't resolve a conflict at its budding stage, it begins to assume a life of its own.
True.
So what is happening now is that ego has come in, you know, so many interests have come in that, you know, something they could have resolved amicably as now, you know, it has grown to a very situation that is very difficult for them to.
Okay, let's also, you talked about the Nenadi Usman faction. Yeah. Let's talk about obeying party constitution. Now, this is a situation where the Labour Party it's finding it difficult to obey its constitution. Why is it so difficult for political parties in Nigeria to obey party constitution? Remember, this is a matter in PDP.
Yeah.
I think the APC also. But why is it so difficult for political parties? Let me start with you.
See, if you tag it as disobeying the party constitution, you're still giving life to the legal angle they've taken this crisis to. Because every party will be, you know, drawing its strengths or weaknesses from the party's constitution for whatever they're doing.
Is that not the right?
I agree with you. You know, I talk more as
that. Let's not go the legal way. Let's try and judge.
I talk more as someone who covers politics for almost 20 years, so I know how these people reason. Do you understand? But if you want me to sound idealistic and how it should be done, I will answer your question, and I will do so. So when you talk about obeying the party constitution, there is a force called the enforcers. And these enforcers are like what I mentioned, the rallying point. As much as you might say, oh, it's not a one-man party, it's not this, recall that when PDP was in power, it was better managed than when they are in opposition. And you recall that then we are having two factions talking about the former governor of Borno, that's Alimadu Sharif, and Markafi, the former governor of Kaduna. This crisis festers. It festers. We're going from one court to another. If you lose in this court, you file another case in another court. And when it was time for convention, when it was time for primaries, there were all kinds of things. Governors were losing election. In some states, the party will not even field a candidate. So I'm just telling you that if you want to go the line of obeying the constitution, which is very key, I am not lawless. I'm just saying that this so-called constitution, these men can wake up in one night, meet up with the NWC, form a team. If this particular item, this clause is not favoring them, they will tinker with the party's constitution. But it's about what is our aim. We can't deny them that idea that they want to win election. How do we sustain the party? It's very key, because if we are allowed to talk more on this issue, we will even see a situation. You've seen some of their people who use the platform to win election, even the campaign to the ruling party at the center. And we might even see a situation where some of them who are also looking at the party in 2027 already having conversation with another parties. So I'm just saying that, hey, guys, how do we build this party? How do we drop our ego? How do we stoop to conquer?
Okay.
Because not until you do this, that was what APC did when they came together. So many powerful forces, they had to say, hey, this is the bigger umbrella, in quotes. So that don't sound like PDP.
Yeah,
this is the bigger umbrella.
About numbers and consensus.
Exactly.
You know.
So until people begin to drop their personal ego,
okay,
trust me, the constitution is as good as.
He talked about Peter Obi in his first submission. Yeah. Now let me. There's been criticism about the way Peter Obi has handled the Labour Party crisis. Now, in your opinion, and if you also remember, he's been criticized by the likes of Kenneth Okonkwo as well. But what are your thoughts about how he has handled, you know, the crisis in the Labour Party?
You see, you cannot be a good custodian of a house that you did not build. If you are a tenant in a house, there is a limit to which you can be concerned about the future of that house. I don't think Peter Obi has spent up to 4 years in Labour Party.
But he's a force to reckon with.
Yes, he's a force to reckon as an individual. But in terms of the Labour Party itself, if you take Peter Obi out of Labour Party, it becomes an empty shell. So when a party is built not as an institution, but is built around individuals, it's like a house of cards that can collapse at any time. So in great parties are not just built by, it's just president candidate, and of course that was 2 years ago. There should be structures, the national chairman at the national and the state level, the NEC members. But in this case, you have more or less a party of one individual who wants to determine, who wants to build the party in his own image, not in the image of members, not based on the aspirations and fears of millions of people that are supposed to be. How many times have we seen rallies of Labour Party that you even find about 500 people after the election, or a convention, or a gathering?
They said Peter Obi took sides.
Yeah.
But are you saying that Peter Obi does not have the, should I say, the political capital to call all of them to order and say, hey guys, let us...
In my own reading, I don't think Peter Obi sees the Labour Party as his future party. If you can see the people he has been meeting, Peter Obi is like, and most of the people in Labour Party, they are like just flying birds. When they find a beautiful tree, they perch on it. But once they notice that the tree is drying up, they fly away.
Another one.
So if you see the people that he has been consulting, people have been holding meetings, there is no guarantee that in the next 1 year that Peter Obi will actually be in Labour Party. So the Labour Party has become a dumping ground of people who are seeking spontaneous political relevance.
They didn't get it in PDP.
Yes, they move it. You know,
Labour Party is the next.
Even in Ondo State, when you know, the first governor on the platform of Labour Party, he just move in there and then move out.
That's Mimiko.
Yes, Mimiko. So so that is why the party is just like a flirtatious platform that anybody can use for immediate convenience. The Labour Party, as we speak
the former
now,
Edo State governor also do something
yes,
like
and
that.
then move, you know, them, you know. So it's I don't think I think what matters now is not the future of the party itself, Labour Party. It is the future of individuals in that party, and that means at any moment that party can be dumped.
You know, my take. I'm sorry, not that I differ, but my take is they had all the opportunity to make it a formidable party with the showing in 2023. That was my argument.
Yeah.
That if they have, because a lot of people ask that question, what will happen after 2023 election?
Yeah.
In fact, some even predicted that, let's imagine Peter Obi winning the election. Who will constitute the majority at the National Assembly?
Yeah.
How is he going to survive? And people even say, hey, we see a situation where this man can even decamp based on your analysis. But I'm saying that there is now a test. There are naysayers who have said that, hey, this is all about someone's dream, someone's interest. It's not really about the party.
Yeah.
And there are enough examples to justify this point. Because in Edo, not until very few weeks to the election, that's when we saw, you know, a Peter Obi given life, you know, to the candidate. And don't also forget, I watched it live. During the 2023 election, the build-up in Rivers State, when Peter Obi went to, you know, one of these commissioning that Wike was doing. Still a member of the PDP, by the way. And this man was endorsing the candidate of PDP. It's not done. You cannot be the candidate of Labour Party and you are endorsing the candidate of PDP at that event. And you already have a when there was no criticism against him, that's when he realized that even the candidate was at the hospital of Labour Party. So even if you were invited to come and commission a project, check your words. These words are marbles that people will refer to. So I'm saying that there are a lot of pointers to what he said, but he should have proven people wrong by building the party. Yes. Individuals can build this party.
You can only build. You can only
okay, but politics in Nigeria, just like I said, is about numbers and consensus. So do you foresee like a Peter Obi under the running on the flagship of the Labour Party come 2027?
For now, I don't think I don't think he will see the Labour Party as the platform he wants to, given the internal contradictions within the party now. So you see him decamping? Yes, and I think that we must realize that you cannot build a house from the rooftop. Exactly. You have to build. I felt in my own mind, I felt by now, Labour Party should engage itself with mobilizing people, millions of people in rural areas, in local communities, working with Labour. But this crisis has diverted the attention of Labour Party to the extent that even you don't feel the relevance. I don't even think they are having any meetings at ward levels. At least in my state, I know there's no Labour Party meeting. So they must continue building the party from the bottom instead of just looking at presidential election as if that's the main goal of